I smashed another small pad. So stick around and you can see what I made with it. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. This is the Smash Those Small Pad collaboration that I do with my friend Sarah, who's Craft and Relaxing here on YouTube, and Kathy, who's Stampin' Cat over on Instagram. Each month we just pick a pad smaller than 12 by 12 and work on using it up. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you know I'm trying to hit a goal of scrapbooking the rest of 2015 and 16 by the end of 2022. And so I kind of had that in mind when I picked my small pad. I used the all-girl 6x6 pad from Echo Park, and I picked this up, all of this up at one of their sales they have throughout the year. And it may have been last year when I bought it, but it's like where the more pads you buy or the more embellishments you buy, whatever, like the price per pad or item gets cheaper. So I ended up picking up the 6x6 pad, the puffy stickers, the chipboard accents, and the chipboard phrases. So I did not use up all the extra embellishments, but I can always use these with other papers going forward. But I did use up all of the pad, and this is what I have left, are just strips, mostly strips from, you know, the top of the pad where that hole is. So I ended up getting 10 12 by 12 layouts and thought that was pretty good. Was able to stretch that pad pretty far. And I did bring in cardstock from my stash, obviously for my base page, but also I brought in colors just to kind of use as photo mats and accent. And again, that helped stretch out the pad a little bit. So also what I did is I went through my Pinterest board I have for scrapbook pages, and I have it broken down like into sub boards by the number of pictures. So like here, I would have gone through my 2 photo layouts and looked to see layouts that I could do with a 6x6 pad, like things that didn't have paper going like all the way across where I couldn't cover a seam, basically. So this is this sketch, and I will link the sketches down below, but I ended up saving the sketches onto my phone, so I can go back and link them down below in case you are a scrapbooker and would like to try and use 6x6 pad. And it just used square, so there was no continuous paper going all the way across. And then I also just brought in, like it had called for little scraps. And then I kind of went through my stash of like border strips or things, scraps that I had thrown in with border strips, and brought in a few of those. I ended up bringing in letter stickers and then like another random dog embellishment. And then I had, in several cases, I punched hearts or flowers or circles out of some of the cardstock scraps that I had just to add additional embellishments that were flat, because all of the embellishments I had that were with that collection were either puffy or chipboard, and it's hard to layer those. So that is that one. And in several cases you will see multiples. Again, I have 2 daughters, and there are times where I scrapbook the same event for all 3 of us, and if I can use the same layout for all 3, I do, because it's easier. And I'm not one that I could just make a layout and copy it. I'm like very hands-on. Like I want to actually make them all. Crazy, but I do. So this was just a single layout for Ellie's album. Then I have a single layout for Avery's album. And again, this was a sketch. I left off the pattern paper that went diagonally across the page that this sketch called for, and just focused on the paper that was right around the photos. And so again, used cardstock photo mat, but then it just called for some layers. And none of these sketches had measurements, so I was just guessing. A lot of times I would just take the full 6x6 like piece without tearing off the top, like, and depending on if I could cut it horizontal or, you know, vertical, because if I could cut it this way, I could get a longer piece. This way it would be wider. So it kind of depended on the page, but A lot of times I was just cutting the paper in half. And then here I just picked 3 patterns that could be 3-inch strips underneath my photos. So again, nothing needed to stretch all the way across. Brought in, again, more punch shapes that I did out of scraps, and then embellishments from the collection. I did use this chipboard piece as my title. So that is just for hers. This one was kind of a simple one because it just used blocks like of the pattern paper. So this was the sketch I followed. And I trimmed my squares down to 5 by 5, and I wish I would have like made them 5.5 at least, just so that there was more pattern paper showing, but it still worked out. And then I did back my photos on white cardstock, and then brought in a few scraps here that I had just up here to kind of fill out this grouping, and then used the chipboard and the puffy stickers as my embellishment stuff. So that's Avery's album. Here is another of the same type of layout, but it's a different event, and it's going in Ellie's layout. So Ellie's album, I tried not to make too many or more than one of the same layout for the same year, for the same person, if that makes sense. So I didn't want Avery to have the same layout, like just a few pages away from each other. So I tried to keep that in mind when I was making him. But this was towards the end, and I did decide to go ahead. I had 4 full sheets left, and so I decided to go ahead and use this layout again. And this time I did 5.5-inch squares. So you can kind of see the difference in how much white space you had left around the photo grouping. Brought in some foam glitter words here for my title, and then I also ended up bringing in some other random words I had found in my stash that fit with the colors and kind of the event, and then embellished with the chipboard pieces. This one was kind of towards the end, and I didn't have a ton of pattern paper left other than those big squares. And so this one didn't really require a whole lot. And so I did use this, little accent here with the 2 layered pieces as the sketch called for. But then I also brought in some of the cardstock scraps down here and added a few of the paper scraps, pattern paper scraps up here. And again, letters for my title, and just accented with some of the chipboard pieces, and then did white strips for my journaling. So I kind of changed up the layout of the sketch a little bit just because also of the orientation of the 3 photos that I had. So this one was interesting because it used, I think the sketch called for like 3 different patterns, and I think I ended up bringing in 4 for this main grouping on both, 3 or 5, I don't know. It kind of depended. I did 2 of this layout, and they're both kind of like different how I ended up putting the papers together. They both ended up working out a little bit different. So this one, and the sketch actually called for, say, this pattern and to match this pattern, and then you have 2 strips here that kind of, they go across, but they don't line up. And then this pattern was supposed to come in here again, but I ended up bringing in just a little scrap of this tassel piece. So I liked that it used several of the different patterns that kind of created a little bit more interest. And then it also called for the strip down here at the bottom to kind of balance it out. In the end, when I was done with all of the pages that I could do, I had some scraps left, and so I came in and added like flags or other strips wherever I could, wherever I thought it made sense. So I did add this later. So here is another version of that layout that I did. I think I did this one first. So you can see the matching patterns here, the matching patterns here, and then the matching patterns here. And then I added this pink strip kind of at the very end when I had pieces left over. This one, which actually was supposed to have horizontal photos, I turned it to be vertical to work. So this looks like, I mean, and it could be a full sheet that goes across if you have a 12 by 12 sheet. I just took my 6 by 6 and cut it into strips and then just lined them up on either side of my photo mat here. And then this is 2 pieces that are lined up and cover the seam with some of the pattern paper strips, like just like the layout called for. And then I ended up using chipboard for this one because I had one that said life is better when you dance, and this is about the girls. It's Avery's first year of dance, and so we took pictures. And then it just embellished with puppy stickers and chipboard stickers. And then I had some embellishments from Creative Memories from a long time ago that were like ballet or dance related, and the colors worked, so I finally got to use those up here on this layout. And then this strip up here again was added at the very end. When I had the strips left, I thought it worked with this layout without taking anything away, so I threw it on here just so that I could make sure it got used. So here is Avery's page for this. Same thing, same. I actually even used the same patterns for both of these pages. I just think I changed up the strips down here on them and then changed up the embellishments. So this, a different chipboard piece as my title, more of those Creative Memories, like little punch out embellishment pieces. And then the strip again, I added at the end and then just accented with more of the puppy stickers and chipboard. So the very last layout I did, I was determined to figure out how to use all of the remaining pieces that I had without it looking like a hot mess. So I had 3 bigger strips here, and so I grouped those together down here at the bottom. And then when I was looking for cardstock for my page bases, at one point I had found this circle that was already cut out of pink cardstock. So I kind of was determined to use it up too during all of this since it worked. And so I kind of used that here for kind of the top piece. I have the patterns grouped down here at the bottom. This is just a pattern piece I decided to make my title strip on, and then had some smaller pieces left that I turned into like fishtail banners up here and just kind of grouped them together. I had some tiny pattern paper pieces left that I punched tiny little hearts from. And then I also used some of the cardstock from what I had, cardstock scraps that I had left as well, to get like the circles and then like that darker pink heart. And you can even tell here, even if you don't have exact letters, like your alphabet letters that you get never have enough of the letters you always need. So the I ended up cutting off a J. This E is a C with a strip from a Z. So it does look a little Frankenstein if you look up close, but from a distance, hopefully it's not super noticeable. And then I ended up having to bring in like a capital S because there were no S's. So, but I was already like committed to using that. And I wanted them all to be like relatively the same size. Sometimes if you mix and match letter sets, like the scale is way off. So anyway, this was my final layout that was trying to use just about everything that was left. And then I still had one like 3x3 square left that I wanted to use. So I made a little 3x3 note card. That'd be great for like a birthday gift. So I had just used the 3x3. I cut it down to 2 7/8 square, and then added a little strip scrap that I had, punched a little heart from another one of the scrap pieces, and then had this bigger piece also that I wanted to use, so I threw it on the inside. So that is how I used my 6x6 pad. 10 12x12 layouts and a 3x3 mini card, and that used up the whole pad. So hopefully you guys got some ideas about how you can take a 6x6 pad and adapt it to 12x12 layouts. I know I've done some here and there when I'm working on a pad, but I've never really taken a pad and dedicated it to using it all on layout. So this was kind of a fun challenge. Hopefully it gave you guys some ideas. Again, I will try to link the sketches I used in the description box below in case you would like to find them and use them. Please be sure to check out Sarah and Kathy's links in the description box below as well. And we are continuing this into 2023. So stay tuned for more ways to use your small pads. I wish every one of you a happy new year because we are coming up on the end of 2022. I hope everyone has a happy new year, safe New Year's celebrations, and that everyone has a wonderful 2023. Thank you guys so much for your time and hope you also have a crafty day.